Joining me right now is Anthony Durkacz, co-chairman of FSD Pharma. Anthony, welcome back.
Thank you so much, James.
Anthony, I was very interested to get you on because we have this new culture that has come up around the cannabis industry, and it's the culture of, I'm going to categorize it as idiot analysts who don't know anything, taking pot shots at companies that are doing a lot, and then making a quick score when they push the stock price down, moving on, and then the companies are revealed to have none of the problems stipulated by the analysts. And we've got just one such has taken a new shot of drawing a bead on FSD Pharma. And everything that I've looked at about this guy, first, I've never heard of him. He's got a Seeking Alpha profile, which Seeking Alpha is notorious for. It's the land of the undisclosed paid pumper dumper. It's the land of the undisclosed run and gun short seller. So quickly, what were the points this guy was trying to make, the criticism about FSD Pharma, and what is the reality?
Sure. So and it is here.
Okay.
And I think one of the reasons why I want to talk about it is just to make sure that I think every investor should be very, very cautious about what they read. And if something is too positive or something is too negative, you really want to make sure that you get other people or trusted opinions from other people, like your financial advisor and accountant, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But in this case, they talked about I have a track record of average loss of 92% over 11 stocks. In that article, I actually had my analysts run our numbers. So if you did look at the very high it ever hit and then the lowest it hit, could it be 92% down? That's true, but also if you looked at where we financed it and those 11 deals and their highs that they achieved after they were financed, that was a 2,600% gain.
Right.
So the truth is going to lie in the middle of that.
Absolutely.
And so I think anyone that's going to go, again, if it's too positive, that's typically people pumping or longs that have a reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're doing that to sell their position.
Sure.
It's the same way as a short seller would do when they've already sold short, and then they come out with these articles hoping to scare the average retail investor, which is really despicable in so many ways. And then that poor average retail investor panics, sells at a low price to that short to cover.
Let me ask you this. What kind of idiot goes short on a 32-cent stock in the first place?
It's a good question. So in the case of FSD Pharma, we are asset rich.
Right.
We have no debt, right? We are going to be alive for years no matter what.
Right.
We have great things in the pipeline. And so what's your maximum amount you can make is 32 cents to the downside, but we're asset rich. That's not ever going to be an issue. It's not ever going to go there.
Yeah.
But their upside is unlimited. Mm-hmm. So if you're shorting a $100 stock, yes, is there a lot of room to go down? There's $100 per share to go down. In this case, it's 32 cents per share to go down at your best.
Exactly. Well, I found the whole thing ridiculous, especially in the context of the last few short reports that came out. Like, so for example, Andrew Left of Citron Research has almost zero credibility based on the fact that he told everybody to sell Kronos because there was no business there. Kronos is $24 today, just got $2.6 billion from Altria.
Correct.
He told everybody to sell Afria. Afria had no business. It was and actually, did he say, was he the one on Afria? I can't remember that exactly. But anyways, I tracked a few of his picks. I found that he was right for a very short period of time on a couple, but not that it would have been any big win for anybody. And so I just, every time I get a new report from him, I just kind of laugh and say, okay, let's see what rake this guy's going to step on now. So,
and also, I guess the risk with shorts is that if you get caught on the wrong side and all of a sudden, say, like a stock has very good news coming out, or it gets halted and you can't cover that position in a halt, and you get gapped up, you can lose that entire fund. That's the interesting part of it is they can do well in short bursts, but when they get caught on the wrong side, those are massive losses.
In Canada and the United States, we have very tough, arguably strict rules about misleading investors. Publishing information that is considered misleading to induce them to buy stock based on something that may or may not happen.
Yes.
Do you think that the law is currently governing what you're allowed to say about a negative of the company is proportionate to what can and can't be said that's positive about a company, or do you think that we need to revisit the idea of misrepresenting facts to the downside and apply the same standard?
100% we have to.
Yeah.
Because, you know, these types of articles, and in this case, you know, the author has a series of other articles that are all extremely negative, but, you know, are completely misleading. In a number of cases here are libel. You know, the challenge is that, you know, the author and these companies, you know, they reside in Colombia. So for us to go and chase them for libel realistically is going to do what for anybody is not really that much of a time factor. But when you look at the commissions, for example, and you look at disclosures, when anyone writes, whether it's positive or negative, you know, they should be disclosing, well, how much are you positive or negative, and when, and at what price, right? So if you're an author of anything, it's whoever you're doing it for, when did you buy or sell that stock, and at what price, and how much? You know, and those types of disclosures should be prevalent, where the reader sees it, not at the very bottom of the article, but at the very top.
Sure, that's a good idea. Now, tell us, what are the catalysts in 2019 that we can look for FSD Pharma that are going to take the stock in the other direction?
So, you know, I will never comment on share price ever. What I'm very, very excited about is our move to the U.S., to NYSE. You know, we're going to pivot into this very focused medicinal biotechnology side of the cannabis world. You know, being a cancer survivor myself, I have sort of a real soft spot for this sort of new frontier in medicine that's about to unveil. And we're seeing, you know, in Canada, the money isn't the same. Investment money isn't the same that it was a year ago in the cannabis sector. In the USA and in other countries, you know, we're beginning to see what we were seeing here about 2.5 years ago. And it's just beginning. And I think that in those markets, you know, it's, as we all know, there's just so much more money.
Yeah.
You know,
so FSD Pharma is pivoting full bore towards biotechnology research? 75 to
80%. It's going to pivot. The rest will be operational. So we you know, are in the middle of building. We are growing. We're cultivating. And we believe we're very, very close to the sales license. And, you know, the idea is that here in Canada, we're going to have an operating business that's going to be profitable over the next 18 months.
Now, you had at your facility, you had several other businesses that were all sort of starting to generate a very interdependent sort of relationship to each other, where it was like, oh, this now makes sense. Instead of trucking this A to B, it's just like, no, we'll take a conveyor belt or a wheelbarrow and just take it across the parking lot. So is that still part of the strategy at the FSD plant?
100%. So it's still part of the strategy. Cantab is building. World-class extractions is building. We will make another announcement, I would say, shortly on something similar. And we're also exploring, because we have so much room and space, some of the value-added areas. We're getting approached by a lot of edibles companies, you know, that I think see the former Kraft plant as probably being a good place to
make cookies.
Commercial edibles.
Because you do get the munchies when you're high. Okay, so then FSD Pharma is moving towards a New York Stock Exchange listing?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
And when do you anticipate that happening?
It will happen within the next 2 quarters.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, well, we're going to leave it there for now, Anthony. I really appreciate the update, and we'll keep following the story. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, James, for giving me your time.
Of course.